Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the PCS Summer in 2021. I'm still Pyrotechnics. He is still Clement. And now we move on to game number 2, Clement. And I feel like you'd be hard-pressed to find a more lopsided one than this. But before we get into that, I do want to give a shout-out quickly to our sponsors. Of course, they are CTBC Bank, China Airlines, and Chunghwa Telecom. Thank you so much for sponsoring the PCS.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is definitely one of those matchups where you expect the game to end before the 25-minute mark. Personally, I am ready. I got my speed run clock up. I'm checking all the records, and I think this might be the fastest game of the split.
Ooh, and that's a hard record to beat. I mean, I believe it was just over 20 minutes was the record we've got so far.
Yeah, we had the impunity as the victim against J-Team, and that game only lasted 20 minutes and 17 seconds. So that's kind of the game score we have to look for. PSG definitely on the record road. We have a lot of changes from Alpha Esports, but it looks like the level of execution is definitely still not where we want it to be.
We didn't see too much from them yesterday. I think there's a lot of time left in the season, but it's hard to know what to make of this team. I mean, they made a lot of changes. We've so far yet to see how well that's actually going to work out. But the problem, above anything else for them today, is the fact that they're facing off the undisputed top dog of the PCS, PSG Talon, hot off their 2-0. Let's take a look at their current starting roster. 3Z will be in the top lane. We got K-Babe in the jungle, Zhao2 in the mid, On and Shang will round out your bot lane. And if there's a name that stands out to you, Clem, if there's somebody, a hero that can step up and carry this team to a victory, who is it going to be?
That's a really hard question. I don't think there's a player that I have seen yet that can actually carry them to a victory, and I have to be very honest about this. But I will say Sheng has looked like a pretty good improvement over what they had last split. At least he's not making any crazy engages that kind of dooms his teams to failure. However, 3Z yesterday he was solo killed in lane quite easily. On had a lot of execution mishaps, and K-Babe, his Lee Sin just kept kicking people into safety. So it's really difficult to see from kind of their more veteran staff where they will be able to stand on. I am, if I have to make a stand, if I have to take a bet, I'd probably go with their new support. So
we'll have to keep an eye in that bottom lane to see how well they're able to do. But of course, it's going to be a tall order up against the likes of PSG Talon. Doesn't matter what lane you pick, or the jungle for that matter. They are just an absolute terror across the rift. But all the same, Alpha queuing up to play against these guys. We'll see if they're going to be able to find something, anything. It would be probably the upside of the split, in all honesty, if they could make it happen. There's a reason we've been talking about the speed run plays to see if PSG Talon can do it. But we'll see if Shang maybe has a couple of tricks up his sleeve. Maybe they can find themselves a composition that can do something a little bit different. So far, seem to be in pretty good spirits as we're getting ready to load into this one today. That's always a good thing.
Definitely is the case. Alpha Esports, they did have a couple of wins at the end of the season, and I think Coach Laba joining them at the end of the split in spring has been pretty good for their team overall. We saw a lot more creative drafts and trying to cheese out other teams at times.
Absolutely. Now their opponents, the champions, returning from MSI, getting a 2-0 yesterday. It will be PSG Talon, Hanabi in the top side, River in the jungle, Maple in the mid, Unified and Kaiwing on that bottom. And, there's what's not to like about this team? I mean, they feel like they're great everywhere.
I would say so myself. It seems like they had pretty much all of the best players in all of the different positions. It's, maybe Hanabi is debatable, but that's pretty much it. And honestly, from yesterday's games, Hanabi has been playing great himself. He's really been showcasing his carry chops as well, especially on the Gwen. And, Unified seems incredibly healthy. So no real obstacles to this team whatsoever.
Yeah, big scare for this team when Unified wasn't able to make it to MSI. They had to borrow Doggo from Beyond Gaming, but things turned out okay for them there, and Unified back in that 80 carry seat. I do want to talk a little bit about Hanabi, too. As you mentioned, he's been able to put on his carry pants. I've really liked this evolution from this player. I mean, traditionally known as a weak side top laner, he's rounded out a little bit, whether it's the caliber of the opposition he's facing or something else. Hanabi's been really showing some impressive performances.
And that's an impressive roar from River. Wow, that's
that went on for like
game.
10 seconds. Holy moly!
Well, you got to get your oxygen. right before the
Yeah,
game.
I guess you do.
That's definitely the case.
Remember to breathe, everybody. That's important. Drink water, breathe, and everything else is more or less optional. ALF Esports starting off. We will see the LeBlanc and the Akali band away. No surprises. I mean, Maple's a guy with a champion ocean, but at the same time, you can't give him Akali.
This is pretty much the please don't speedrun me, bro type of bans we expect. Taking all the hyper snowballing assassins, but leaving some strong picks on the table as well. I wonder if Xin Zhao is actually going to go through the draft. Xin Zhao would be a champion that I feel like KB would instantly snap into if it is left for the taking.
It might just be the case. Some smiles on the faces of ALF Esports 3Z. Seem to be having a good time to kick things off. That ban, last one, taking their time is PSG Talon. The affiliates that banned away. Lee Sin. So I think there was probably debate on that jungle. Maybe it was going to be the Xin Zhao, but they didn't want to give the Lee over, so we'll see if that's the lock.
They probably don't know if K-Babe actually plays Xin Zhao or not, so they just thought, okay, we'll ban something we know he plays, but Lee Sin seems to be a... Yeah, Viego, okay. This is, the standard PCS blue side first pick in the meta. You could definitely flex it to jungle. It gets still very strong in top and mid, even without the sustain. But there goes the Xin. The Xin is an absolute terrifying pick on 11.13. Everyone's been banning this. It's pretty much globally red side banned. And the reason is that it has one of the best early games for a jungler. You think about Diana's, you think about Rumbles having a lot of impact. Xin Zhao can beat those junglers hands down. He could honestly just kill those junglers level 3 versus level 4. So I expect a very dominating game from River, most likely going to be a double scuttle start in most scenarios.
Absolutely. Xin Zhao coming in strong pickup. They also will get their hands on the Thresh, a champion that has made its way into the ban column quite a lot for Kai Wing. Contesting on the opposite side should be the lock-in. If they take it, it's going to be that Nautilus. Really down to the wire there for Alpha as they take the time about this. If you're Alpha Esports, you've already given away power picks, but what kind of comp do you want to build here? The Kalista could come in and kind of give a chance. Yeah, that's going to be locked. What do you want to do if you're Alpha Esports in this case, Clement?
I honestly felt like Alpha were kind of forced into picking the Kalista at this point. You can't really give over the Shadow Isle combo with a Xin Zhao and expect to come out alive in your bot lane. The survivability in that lane is incredibly low. It's way too strong of a lane. So Alpha Esports, I feel like with that Kalista, they have forced themselves into more of an early game snowball skirmish type of composition. This is going to be very heavy on execution, and I'm not sure that's the way you want to go against PSG. Against PSG, this is kind of a Hail Mary situation for them anyway, so they're going to go for straight early game while PSG picking the Lulu that can honestly go into multiple lanes. I would not be overly surprised if we just see a mid lane Lulu. That definitely still works. We've seen it in the LPL. You could just speed up the Xin Zhao and have him sort of hyper carry your early game.
Yeah, Lulu coming through. Now onto the bans in phase 2. Quinn taken away. ALF Esports trying for the snowball composition as they ban away some AD carries. The Jinx makes her way to the ban column. Jinx Thresh, good old combo. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and Jinx is one of those champions that honestly hasn't been nerfed too hard on this patch. We have seen champions like Kaisa, just kind of fall off quite hard, but Jinx is still playable. And when you have a double support composition coming out from PSG, you definitely do want to consider taking away some hyper carries. PSG probably not trying to hit the ball out of the park with the speed runs with this Lulu, but they could still have a pretty dominating early game if it goes mid, and which I expect Maple to play.
Hovering on the Ziggs right now. That does get locked in. Before that happened, I was questioning, like, they have the opportunity. They could go for the old Juggernaut if they really wanted to. But no, this is a much smart, safe pick. I like it. From PSG, Unified getting his hands on the Ziggs to try and destroy those towers. Alpha going to try and answer here, and it's going to be the Galio locked in.
Okay, I like this continuation from Alpha Esports. They definitely know that they want to play full-on early game, full-on engage, try to get those first kills off, get Viegos those resets, get Kalista those red resets as well. And, this is a composition if that they somehow find one pick, they can snowball it into multiple kills really easily. If you're going up against a juggernaut like PSG, you better go into pretty extreme conditions to find the win. On the other hand, PSG, I feel like this comp is much safer. They have a lot of late game insurance with Ziggs and Gnar, and this Lulu, you might be thinking, who's she actually going to give that attack speed to? It's mainly going to be River. So PSG going to try to play a two-man game in the early, and I expect their sidelines to be pretty quiet for the most part.
Yeah, we saw River carry pretty hard yesterday. I mean, that was, I believe, up against Hong Kong Attitude. Had this Viego that just absolutely popped off with like a ridiculous scoreline. And yeah, the Xin Zhao is a champion that can just kind of go in and just keep smacking you with that spear. So Maple, slotting into a more supportive role this time around. And PSG, they've got a lot of options. Expect nothing less from this squad, but ALF Esports, they have one goal, and it is to go in, go ham, and hopefully get the win. But that's always the hard part against PSG Talon.
This is a great draft from Laba. I've got really nothing to complain here. He's got a multitude of power picks in the Renekton and the Viego. So, even though he gave away the Xin Zhao and Thresh, didn't end up that bad on the draft. There's a lot of consistency on what they want to do. So, I want to say, like, if this was any other team, I wouldn't be too surprised for Alpha Esports to take out the win. This is a really, really complete draft. But on the other hand, it is execution focused, and they are up against PSG. So the main thing we have to watch here is how is mid jungle going to do? Because if River, with this Lulu, is able to just go into Viego's jungle 24/7, then forget about your early game, forget about your tempo draft. It won't work. So that's where I'm going to keep my eyes focused on. Definitely going to be the early 2v2 skirmish that's going to decide most of it.
Certainly is going to be the case, and it's always going to be a tall order going up against PSG, but Alpha are certainly going to try, and they're going to try to end it early as we load up here into Summer's Rift for the second time tonight. Some troubling signs, though, for this team, as always. They had a hard time trying to execute a very similar composition, if I recall, yesterday up against Impunity, and it really wasn't until Impunity made a handful of mistakes that they really were able to find anything. So we're going to need to see a level up from this team today, and it's going to have to be a big one.
30 seconds until minion.
Yeah, I definitely expect, 3Z to be performing a little bit better. He's been solo killed in lane just way too many times, and On yesterday had a bit of an oopsie when he tried to flash on the enemy team.
PSG just 5-man bot lane. Can we find anybody in the brush? No? Okay, I guess we'll go home.
Maybe they still
just saw that happening.
Maybe they still have the speed run in mind. Maybe.
I mean, you might as well. Like PSG is they're a team of such a caliber that, they know what they're doing. If they want to have a little bit of fun, I think they've earned it.
For sure. Xiao2, in the meantime, is going to go for the Predator rune here. So trying to roam a lot more rather than stay in lane. This is definitely what you want to pick if you're going for a 50-minute or bust type of game plan. Aftershock does serve you a lot better in teamfight scenarios, but Predator lets you get those early game surprises. And speaking about surprises, K-Babe going in.
The invade. K-Babe right here on the blue buff, going to try and contest this one away, and PSG, they back away pretty safely, but now it's full-on under contest, and it's going to be some late lanes for the dual laners. And who will go down as they get the hook in onto the Nautilus, looking for that level 1. Shang a little low here, but River is going to be able to help secure first blood there for Unified. K-Babe does take down his opposite number. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. I feel like with K-Babe getting that kill, that might actually benefit.
Yeah, that's a massive win coming in from Alpha Esports. Xin Zhao's early game has gone kaput.
Oh dear.
There's not much he can actually do. Woo! Xiao2 though, that's
meanwhile,
that's not supposed to happen.
He just gets completely chunked. Bully Lulu, everyone. This is how that works. And 3Z's having a hard time too on the Renekton. But we talked about him getting soloed in lane a couple of times. It's not looking great for the solo lanes, but maybe K-Babe can come to the rescue. It's a good start for him.
At the very least, he's not going to get much pressure from Xin Zhao at the start of the game, but I do expect 3Z to be able to hold out a little bit better here. We have to remember that Gnar is actually one of his main champions as well, so he should understand how these trades go. In the meantime, the Viego getting off this start is absolutely massive. This is a champion that can hard carry. We talk about him being very similar to an 80 Katarina, so once he gets that damage threshold in the early game, it's reset city for him. Very hard to stop him, and we're going to see how River tries to come back in the game now.
Tries to contest the blue buff. Actually runs straight into K-Babe, so has to move away. It does seem like this early gamble with the invade starting to pay off, and River trying to compensate for that, just not able to do it. Uh-oh. Oh, dear. On is backing on a ward. The flash, the hook, unified. Finds the damage. Do they have enough to get the kill as the Nautilus comes in? Shang tries to finish the job, can't quite do it. Oh, that was just unfortunate backing.
Yeah, that was pretty damn sloppy coming in from On. Just usually when you see those backs, if you're trying to do a cheater recall, you definitely do it in the second brush, but not the first one. You just, you know, we have a meme about On is like when he was asked. Like sometimes, oh, why did you flash? And he just went, well, my fingers got a little bit lazy. And that was definitely one of those lazy plays where you shouldn't die in that situation.
Yeah, he was literally right on top of the ward. I mean, that just, it's, how much more do you have to get obvious there? Unfortunate for the Alpha bottom laner, but all the same, it's a better start for this team than we might have expected otherwise. It's still going to be a little bit rough for those solo lanes. You can see 3Z actually doing okay to keep up in farm and levels, but in the mid lane, it's a bit of a different story here, as Zhao 2 has just been bullied mercilessly.
Yeah, he's getting pummeled super hard. I didn't expect him to go so low on the level 1, but definitely didn't happen. And looking at the map right now, the kill distribution is really good for Unified. We do have to remind our viewers that on this patch, the Luden's Tempest was actually got a discount by 200 gold. So he's actually going along super fast, and he's going to get that poke and burst item very early on.
On this time, not going to make the same mistake twice. Very wisely backs away when he sees Kai Wing coming in and is able to dodge the teleport, or excuse me, the hook. River gonna get caught out here, and here's K-Babes. River gonna go down again. They have to leave him for dead, and On picks up a kill. Zhao 2 even teleporting in just to say hello. Guess he got a bit lonely in the mid lane, and now it's gonna be Ocean Drake.
I gotta say, that was insanely cocky from River to not try to run away. He didn't have a flash there, and he just went on to Shun thinking that the rookie was playing a fool, but this is kind of a weird play. He knows the pathing of K-Babe. He knows that Viego should be in the bottom lane. That was, I don't know, that was just kind of disrespectful from River.
Yeah, I think a little bit of extra confidence coming out of that jungler that maybe isn't earned in this particular game here. And ooh, good taunt coming out of Zhao 2 onto Maple, but Lulu's going to be nice and safe. And I think we might need to pack away that the rest of the talk of the speed run, because Alpha's given him a little bit more of a challenge than I think PSG were ready for.
Yeah, this is definitely not one of River's better games. I felt like he took a ton of gambits in the early game trying to come back. Didn't really work out. The invade lost him, honestly, a lot of time on his own top side. And that death in the bottom lane definitely preventable.
Oh, beautiful hook there. Do they have the damage though onto Kai Wing? Ooh, that minefield just holding a little too strong. Meanwhile, Kai Wing goes in for the re-engage as the teleport will complete. Shang gonna fall to Maple, and On, he should have just turned tail and run the moment he saw that TP coming through. The flayback, the ignite, and the double kill from Maple. He's on the board, everybody, and the rest of the game on the other side of the map unfolds as River looks for Zhao 2, gets taken down with a little help from K-Babe.
Oh, he didn't make it past the blast cone, actually dies. Zhao 2 might have actually flashed an auto attack that before River could get out of range, but at least, you know, the thing about PSG is you can cut off one head of the Hydra. They still have so many points that they can beat you with, and that's kind of the case as we see PSG actually wrestle back a lot of this gold lead with that double kill from Maple.
Oh boy, so PSG or Hydra, who's Captain America then?
So it should be someone on the opposite team that's Captain America.
Does that have to be this game, or are we going for the whole league? Because I was thinking maybe Beyond, you know? They came out of nowhere, they might have been frozen in a block of ice for a little while, and they challenged a bit. We'll work on it, it's okay.
I'm going to go with Gemini. Gemini, to me, feels like Captain America, because he's controlling the rest of his team. He basically has a team of rookies that he can shape to his own will, and, you know, Captain America is that guy that sort of tells everyone what to do. So I'm going to go with Gemini.
I like that. I like it. Yeah, and everybody listens because, you know, good leader. But unfortunately for Alpha, I don't know if they're any of the Avengers at this point, but we'll have to see. They are really giving PSG a pretty good game right now. The bottom lane needs to stop dying. Apart from that, it's a pretty good early game from Alpha, all things considered.
Yeah, definitely has been the case, and I think with this game, we really have to pay attention to how far K-Babe can snowball. Lee Sin yesterday, he had a lot of hiccups in terms of execution, but I think Viego in general is a little bit easier. You know, you could argue that maybe the kit stealing part is very difficult, but I think this is a champion that is actually fairly consistent right now, and I'm pretty sure Alpha could get 1 kill if they want to.
They're going to try for that as the Rift Herald's still aggroed. In fact, they have a little bit of split focus right now as River is going to get the first kill onto Sheng. Meanwhile, Hanabi coming into the side and is about to go Mega. The rest of Alpha really need to get the heck out of Dodgers. They've lost their tanky support, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. 3Z trying for 1 kill under River. He can't quite do it. They get punished for their hubris. 3 kills to 0.
Yeah, that was a pretty weird fight for Alpha. I expected them to full turn onto the right side. If you watch that fight, Hanabi really didn't come in at a great rage bar scenario, so you just try to play away from the Gnar, full engage onto right side. You don't even try to touch a Herald at this point, but as we can see, and as you mentioned, On and K-Babe actually back out at the start of this one, and they just leave their front line to the Wolves. So.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. You know, I mean, they get the Rift Herald, but it ends so quickly. And the target priority there, River, he nearly went down, actually. So credit to 3Z for trying to make the most of a bad situation, but the shield comes in just in time. I mean, that's why you picked the Lulu, for exactly that kind of situation. So, well, what can you do? PSG finding themselves with a pretty sizable gold advantage now, about 3,000 at the 10-minute mark, and a few neutral objectives in the pocket of Alpha, but that starts to change your calculus a bit.
River also got a triple kill in that team fight, so he's pretty much back in the game at this point. They can't really expect to push into his jungle and bully him anymore, and in fact, if you look at the items, he's got the Mythic completed before K-Babe. All of that early game, basically down the drain.
It was a nice start, but yeah, River comes right back with a lot of gold in his pocket, gets the core drinker. Dragon gonna spawn in 9 seconds. It will be the Infernal, and Alpha, they are setting up for this, but there's so many points of ingress at this point that you have to be worried this isn't gonna be so easy. K-Babe will aggro it, pull it out of the pit here, but no wall to escape over, if need be. Xiao2 trying to block for this, and he's just going to go for the solo play for now. They do have pretty good objective control here when you think about it, because On does have those spears and the rent stacks to pull out, but they immediately turn the moment they see River and Maple, and now the fight's going on again, and On, where the heck did his health bar go? I don't believe it here. They're just shredding through everything. Shang cannot go anywhere as the Lantern will pull River in once again, and well, not so much of a hero's entrance, more of a hero's retreat. And that's going to be it for that fight. PSG take a clean 2 and stop the Dragon.
This is a very clear example of how you can tell Alpha Esports has tremendous problem with communication. That was actually a team fight that they could have taken. They just needed to focus onto the right side completely. You have Fate's Call, you have the depth charge, you just turn on Unified. You just run straight at him and try to kill him, or you could go for Kaiwing because he doesn't even have a flash. But Alpha Esports failed to execute. They just didn't pull the trigger. I was really surprised by that because they had 3 ultimates. It was a very clear situation where they could have beat back the right side flank quite easily, in fact. And they just didn't have the coordination to do it. PSG, you know, flanking is usually a lot harder than turning on the flank. But that should not have been so easy for PSG.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's unfortunate to see because Alpha built this composition that needs to try and snowball, that needs to try to win fights. They had a good start to it. You know, they go a little deep, they get a little greedy, and they get punished for it in one fight, and all of a sudden they're playing on the back foot and playing much more timidly than they should, and there's no win condition in that. And at this point, you're starting to see the items, as you mentioned, really creep up there. Not only does the Lulu have that Shirelia's, but the 10 stacks on the Dark Seal. I got a question for you, Clement. Is this one of those games where Maple goes, hey Mission, I saw your Medjai's LeBlanc. I raise you, Medjai's Lulu.
Well, I think he has a much better shot at getting 25 stacks this game than compared to the last one, so we'll see how that ends up. This is 320 gold on, I think, only K-Babe.
Oh, River, he does so much damage right here. K-Babe trying to find an answer, looking for Maple. It's just not happening. The health bars are just shredded, and River, he just does not care. And with Maple, it's just this 2-man kill squad, and they select their appropriate targets and just execute with Terminator-like precision.
No Juggernaut comp, no problem. In this game, River is your Cogmom. He benefits greatly from the attack speed, and this is what we've come to expect out of PSG, just dominating 2v2 performances right there. You know, the item difference, the gold lead was very, very radically one-sidedly favored, and I'm not too surprised by that outcome. Finally, Alpha with an aggressive play that fizzles completely.
Yeah, really trying for it, just not able to find much. It's a sizable gold lead here. You started to lose out on neutral objectives. They have been losing pressure in their solo lanes for this entire game, and that is just a measure of how well PSG solo laners have really been doing, not just in picks, but in what they've been able to execute on. And you can see the result, and the difference is turret plates, just so many. A handful there for Alpha, but that's about it. And the longer this game goes, it's only going to get worse from here. Alpha needs to pull the trigger, and they need to be able to find that angle in. It's so hard to do that.
960 gold difference just from the platings at this point. I think the play that I'm looking to, I'm anticipating to see is on using that Fate's Call, throwing his support in, getting that Galio's Hero's entrance into the field, and just snipe off one target. That's all you need to do. Make sure K-Babe gets the reset, and then you can snowball the fight from there. So far, they've actually been given quite a few opportunities by PSG to pull off that combo. They just never pulled the trigger. I'm not sure why. It seems like the comms are a little bit off here. I'm not sure who's the main shot caller is in this situation for Alpha Esports. I can picture it in my head. It's definitely a workable solution. They just need to be able to put all of the ultimates in the correct sequence and actually execute.
Yeah, it's just so hard to do against a team of PSG's caliber. The teleport comes in here for Unified, and it looks like they're going to try to control at the Rift Herald. And, oh, Alpha, they see the pincer coming and say, no, 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 no. We don't want any of this, but they cannot get out in time. Great initiative charged by River, and Maple picks up the first casualty fight here on Shank, and they just sandwich them into the wall with the big Gnar, the double kill for River. And it didn't matter if they wanted to get out of there, Clement. They had no chance.
Yeah, I don't really understand what Alpha Esports' game plan there is. PSG has full lane priority, so you have to expect that they're going to be able to come in. If I'm Alpha and I put myself in Herald, I'm 100% using that Herald as a teamfight turn. But I don't understand what Alpha Esports was expecting. Of course PSG is going to come in. Of course they're going to try and sandwich you. It's your job to be ready for the engage, and it seems like they were the ones surprised in that scenario. I just don't. I really don't get it. Like, if I'm Alpha, the only reason I'm going to Herald is to make sure I get a team fight. But maybe it was just the speed at which PSG was able to collapse. Maybe it was the coordination. But Alpha Esports definitely felt like they were the ones that were odd in that fight.
Yeah, they just, it smells of desperation to me, right? It's like, I think the mentality is something like, we can rush this down, we can do this before they get here. And then the moment that existential dread sets in, they're like, no, we can't, no, we can't, no, we can't. And then the big Gnar puts 3 against the wall. Meanwhile, speaking of Gnar, the little Gnar just shrugs off a 1v2. Technically a 1v3, but K-Babe just kind of came in to extract the lane tax. They will go for the re-engage, though. Zhao2 never did leave, and they may be able to find this kill. They do. But River is in for some revenge, looking for Zhao2. He does manage to find it. Can you find K-Babe as well? Who is in Gnar form at the time, goes in once more, the pull, and that's the double kill. River just too damn tanky, and now the cavalry has arrived. Every time they take one step forward, it looks like it's 2 steps backwards.
Is that a penta?
And that's going to be the quadra kill.
Oh,
PSG.
let's go!
Penta, my goodness! On day number 2. Okay, let's reset that clock for the speed run, Clement.
River starts this game out 0-3 and comes back to get a pentakill. This was the worst early game that I've ever seen River play into. And he redeems himself with that Xin Zhao play. Really fun to watch. It was pretty one-sided, I'm going to be absolutely honest. It didn't feel like he was in that much danger throughout the entire fight. This is the classical PSG Hanabi sacrificial bait, where the entire team is just around the corner, making sure that they can pick up all the stragglers here. But still really nice to see River, and this is why Xin Zhao is so powerful. You know, when it looks like he's in trouble, he uses that Crescent Guard, stops all the incoming damage, and he has the sustain plus the attack speed buff from Lulu to just mow down these members from Alpha. And you can definitely see right there, Unified with the emotes. Actually, it was River with the emotes. Unified holding his hand to make sure that his jungler gets the penta.
Yeah, no, they were firing on all the cylinders they needed to, just cutting off the lines of escape, so that River just got champions funneled directly into him. So, what a turnaround. I mean, there was, for one shining moment for Alpha, it was like, oh, we shut down River, we got this, and just completely denied. 12-3-7, picks up the pentakill, now has the Rift Herald for this team. We're only 18 minutes, almost 19 minutes into this, and they are knocking on the front doors. You mentioned Hanabi being the sacrifice. He's probably going to be again as he hops, skips, and jumps over. And they will come to his rescue here. The big Gnar actually gets 3 against the wall. I don't think he even needs the help. Now all of a sudden it's Alpha running the opposite direction.
On's emote is so sad.
Oh, he's so dead.
Well,
They're just having fun.
He's
They're
a
playing
goner.
with the food.
I would hate to be Alpha Esports in this situation. I think K-Babe's making the right call right here. It's time to solo split push.
Yeah, stagger the backs. There we go. Unified gets the kill eventually. Yeah, K-Babe's trying his hardest, right? I mean, you've got to knock down at least one tower in this game. You've got to find an in somewhere, because right now it's 5-0. It's about to be 6. K-Babe will answer back on the top side just in time, but the Rift Herald is going to get popped here on Inhibitor Turret. And I don't think we're going to get that speedrun record, but we're going to get close, Clement.
Yeah, I think it will be a record for this split at least. Like, this could very well be a Dancing Herald if they choose to protect it a little bit.
Let's see if they can pull it off. Nobody's aggroing right now. In fact, they turn on to Sheng. Shelly will get the hit. Oh no! Falls down to the tower, and River just going deep yet again, forcing the rest of Alpha Esports back onto their own fountain. And not a whole lot of minions, but not a whole lot of problems if you're PSG Talon right now. 20-30 looks to be the game time as they just have a little bit of fun with it, as you do when you're this far ahead. Try to pad those kill stats. Threshbox comes in for Kaiwing just to block, and River's got his eye on the prize of the Nexus. Hanabi will get K-Babe completely off screen here, and this will be the end of the game at sub 21 minutes. That will be that record for Summer.
20-48, off of a terrible start from PSG. River comes back huge with the pentakill and all the beautiful finishes. Honestly, this was about as good as a start and about as good as draft as you could have hoped coming out from Alpha Esports, but it really didn't even phase PSG.
Not at all. And you know, you gotta credit the mental toughness. Obviously, I mean, a team of this caliber is going to be able to shrug that off just a little bit. But it looked like Alpha did everything they could in the beginning. You know, we talked about their draft. We liked what they were able to put together, as you got to do against a team this good. You got to find something that can get you a win early and surprise the enemy team, or at least overpower them. I loved the level 1 play. It was great. They got the shutdown on River. Everything seemed to be going well, but they forgot one very important thing, Clement. It's PSG.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
It was PSG. You can't discount this team. Can come right back into it.
Oh, I lost you for a second right there, but yeah,
sorry.
PSG played really well. I think the objective fights should have been a lot better from Alpha Esports, though. There was a Herald fight, I think 2 Herald fights and 1 Drake fight, where PSG were forced to play a flank against a very heavy engaged team. And we just never saw the Fates Call, Death Charge, Hero's Entrance combo. That never, ever came out. It should have been everyone just press R, get 1 kill, snowball the fight. But that's the thing about Alpha Esports and why I feel like they have underperformed so heavily despite having veterans, is they have a lot of players that are connecting from overseas, and they just don't have the comms to actually pull off these wombo combos. Like, I think their best games have been when they have these small skirmishes with K-Babe playing by himself and the rest of the team doing something else. But when they're together and when they actually have to execute in tandem, it's just never materialized, and I feel kind of disappointed. I feel like I was robbed by that game. I wanted an Alpha Esports underdog story, a team-fight wombo combo, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah, not against this squad. I mean, I think there were enough ingredients there to maybe against some of the weaker teams we can see that pulled off by Alpha, but I do think those teams were probably watching and taking notes in this particular game. And it just, once again, it puts another stamp, another tick of the box there for PSG, who improved to 3-0 in the split. really were no doubts that they'd be able to put this one away, but it was a surprising early game. I love that cheeky level 1. It worked out really well, and River was, for like 3-4 minutes, River was having a hard time. And then he got a pentakill, so none of it mattered. But what can't this man play is my question.
Well, we're going to find out pretty soon, but I would not want to give him Xin Zhao. I think giving him Xin Zhao in this patch is very much akin to suicide. He's also playing with the best mid laner in the league as well, so if you give him a strong dueling champion outside of this game, I do expect him to be able to just punish enemy junglers over and over again. Xin Zhao level 3 is one of the most disgusting champions on this patch, especially with the range increase on the Audacious Charge now. It's very easy for him to follow after you, even after you flash.
Yeah, and there were some really beautiful pincer plays from Hanabi that game too. I think that was one of the things I really liked watching about the way PSG plays, is that they just, the moment they smelled blood, it was like the trap just was sprung before anyone saw it. And Hanabi really played well around his Narbar. And even the moments when he looked caught, right? Like, except that one time he overstayed, he was perfectly fine. And there you have it, the gold graph. You could pick 2, maybe 3 of the Alpha Esports players, put them together, and they still wouldn't have as much gold as River did.
That's so ridiculous to see. Jesus. Him having 20,000 damage, and you can show... Yeah, 20,000 damage. And this is kind of the flexibility about Maple as well. They can shift into this sort of Juggernaut composition on demand. So I think a lot of teams look at this draft and they have to be aware of the potential AP in the bottom side, and also the potential for them to just play a Kog'Maw or a Felios comp off of the Thresh. So it just goes to show you that PSG has a very, very broad coverage on what is being played in the meta right now.
Yeah, they certainly do, and there's just it's so hard to try and pick ban against this team, not just because they're so mechanically skilled and so coordinated as a team, but because they just have so many options. I mean, we talk about Maple having a champion ocean all the time. The Lulu, yet another one of those champions that can come in and really do some serious plays. But the fact that they can shift it up on the fly, and as you said, do this kind of like Juggernaut composition. This time it was putting it all onto the Xin Zhao. That's 2 games in a row we've seen jungle carry, and I don't think it should be any surprise that we see River with the MVP from 0-3 to pentakill. Wow.
Yeah, he didn't die after that and got 14 kills to make up for his early game transgressions. Was a little bit cocky in the early game, to be absolutely honest. I don't feel like his second death was warranted whatsoever, but he definitely did make up for it. And I think this is also, I believe, our second Xin Zhao game so far. And we got a good showcase of why this champion is so incredibly powerful. He just pops up before a lot of the other meta junglers can actually come into fruition and come into the strong phases of the game. Talk about Viego jungle. He doesn't really have that good of an early game. He doesn't gank very well. And you really need that Blade of the Ruin King to kind of pop off. So he's more of a second item jungler. But if you're Xin Zhao, you start from strength to strength at level 3, you get that Gore Drinker, which is a massive spike, and you're just unkillable from team fights on that point.
Yeah, we saw his health bar just kind of stops, and it just goes forward, and he's just able to keep getting those kills. But that's all she wrote for PSG. We'll be back with more of the PCS after this quick 10-minute break. Don't go anywhere.